Elizabeth from Roanoke. She was been smoking weed for ever and ever and ever. Amen. And she is calling with a pretty incredible update. Elizabeth, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
How we doing?
I'm great.
Boring and sober now, right?
Boring and sober, but really, really good. So I wanted to give you a call back and tell you how it's going.
I'm number one. I always ask people to call me back, and nobody ever does. So you get the gold star on your forehead today, which is incredible. I don't know if that's where you want to put a gold star. That'd be not a great place to put one. Okay, so A, thanks for calling. B, tell me about your adventure you've been on.
So I have been sober, completely sober for 62 days today. And I've noticed some really incredible changes in a lot of ways that I never even expected.
Hey, let's stop right there.
So,
and everybody, wherever you are listening to this, and there's lots of you, everybody start cheering. Clap and start cheering wherever you happen to be. Grocery market, mowing your yard in your dad shoes, your Nike Monarchs, and your tall black socks. Just start clapping wherever you happen to be. In your squad car, whatever it is. Super excited for you. Congratulations, Elizabeth. Okay, walk us back. Give us a 30-second rewind. When you called last time, you've been using a long time, right?
Yeah, I had been smoking weed every day for about 8 years at that point. And I was on the fence about quitting for about 3 months by the time we talked, going back and forth, back and forth. And my biggest fear to stop was that I wouldn't be able to tolerate my feelings, and I wouldn't know what to do with my time. And that really stopped me for months quitting. And then I'll be honest, after we talked, I didn't quit. It still took me a few days.
How soon after we got off the phone did you light up?
I don't know if it was immediate, but my feeling was immediate.
It was
I was
within
5
5
minutes. I got to get high.
It was, yeah. I wanted to get high after talking to you, actually. I'm just kidding. So that's a very common thing. I'm glad you mentioned that. Often people will have this big moment. They'll have this hard conversation, and then they'll go use again. And then they think, well, now it's all over. And actually, no. You're there, and now let's make the next right step, right? And refresh my memory, refresh all of us listening. Was there a couple of things you were running from? What was the weed helping with?
The weed I was really using to self-medicate for depression.
Okay.
It seemed like my emotions, I couldn't handle them before, and I would use weed to escape.
And when you say you couldn't handle them, what does that mean? Be specific, because there's gonna be somebody listening out there being like, I can handle them. I just don't get out of bed for 2 days, and I eat the whole bottle of ice cream and whatever, right? So, what does that mean? I couldn't handle them.
So I think the two biggest things that were so uncomfortable for me were severe depression. So the depression that gave me hopelessness, feeling kind of what's the point? Why are we doing anything? Kind of this total empty depression and agitation.
Gotcha.
So if I was feeling angsty or edgy or just uncomfortable, those are the two main reasons I would turn to weed to escape that.
And so what was the day you said, I'm done?
A few days after that, I just was wheezing again, because that was one of the big factors, is that my lungs were not healthy. And I just decided I'm going to try. And I actually did start the book you recommended, Dopamine Nation.
Yep.
So I was listening to that on audiobook, and I was already kind of compelled within the first few pages.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Pretty good?
It's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing.
Dr. Lemke, we'll link to it in the show notes.
I've recommended it to many other people already.
Yeah, I'll link to it in the show notes. It's just one of those books that comes along once every 10 years, and it's just so good, man, so good. Okay, so you listened to that book, you got convicted, and you said enough's enough. What did you do next? Did you throw everything away? Did you have a bonfire? What'd you do?
Well, actually, at the time, my husband wasn't ready to quit, so everything was still out. Okay. I just made up my mind, and that was it. I made up my mind. So I didn't really mind that he was still using or that it was around. It wasn't for me.
Wow.
So I was able to kind of put it out of my head like that.
Okay. And you can usually white knuckle that for a couple of days, couple of weeks. What was after that?
Well, that was what, and I remember when I re-listened to my episode that I was on, which you said, I guess, really stuck with me. That I didn't connect until I re-listened, which was this too shall pass. And that's something my therapist had said too. And I think that's been the most powerful tool for me getting through anything, is that the emotion will pass. And so if something was uncomfortable, I just remembered it's temporary. This will pass. I'm uncomfortable, but it's not forever. And with this eye on the prize if I really wanted emotional balance. I really, really desperately wanted emotional balance. And so I was willing to do this experiment for that outcome.
Ah, so good. Okay, so in the past, and you've been sober 60 days, 62, the last 60 days in the country, there's been wild political upheaval. There's been economic, people are screaming and yelling and jumping out of buildings. Like, it's just mess. It's 1 billion degrees all across the country. Like, you picked a really dumb time to get sober, quite honestly. And if you were like trying to get off cocaine, this would be a great time, right? But to get off weed, this is a tough time. How have you managed this for 62 days?
It is really crazy out there. But I would say just keeping my eye on that prize. Like, I wanted emotional balance more than anything. I became sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yes.
That was my last depressive episode, and I just didn't want it anymore. So despite everything else, that was kind of the pinnacle. Like, the bright light through it all was just, I need to see if this is going to be curing my depression. And I will admit, the first 2 weeks were hell, like you said. I think after the first 2 days, I had excruciating headaches for about 14 days.
Yeah.
Like, these really intense tension headaches. I was taking Advil, which I don't ever take.
Right.
And I took it every day for 2 weeks. I mean, it was that bad. And then day 14, boom,
It's like somebody peels off a cataract, huh? Like, you start to see things clearly. Yeah, it's wild. Okay, so often I see folks give up a thing, right? And they've been an addict for a while. And again, we're talking about levels here. Getting off heroin is different than getting off alcohol, is different than stopping smoking weed, which is different than stopping pornography and cheating on your wife, whatever. But when people give up things and say, I'm making a long-term behavior change, I'm playing a long game on this one, and you really tattoo "this too shall pass" on your soul, right? Often they don't refill that gap with other healthy behaviors, and it ends up, that vacuum pulls them back. Have you started doing things like exercise or yoga or drawing? Have you backfilled your life with other things? Or are you still hanging in there?
Yeah. No, I have. And I knew that was part of it going in.
Okay.
So I knew that it was going to be part of the plan, that even if I didn't feel like it, I had to do something with my time. And shockingly, I haven't had any spare time. I've easily filled it. I have my first garden, my first vegetable garden, which I've been looking forward to for years. So that takes up a whole lot of time. I did start exercising. I'm exploring the Wim Hof method and cold exposure.
Don't drive while you do that, by the way.
I remember you saying that. You
might wrap your little Prius around a cinder block highway divider. Just saying. That's fantastic, man. Yeah, that is actually the Wim Hof breathing, I think, is a powerful "this too shall pass," because you begin to take ownership of, you go further upstream than "this too shall pass," and you begin to take ownership of the feeling before it even heads down the road. It's pretty remarkable if you go down that rabbit hole for a while. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
I've had no shortage of things to do. That's for sure.
That's so great. You're incredible. You're like, seriously, like, I'm smiling, and I haven't had a great day, and I'm smiling because it's just amazing. Here's the hard question.
Well, and also, if I describe it this way, for some reason not for some reason, it's pretty obvious, but it makes things less difficult. So also, I can just do the dishes. I can just do the chores, and I don't have this extra gripe and frustration and, I have to do that again. So when I remove that kind of groan over everything in my life, I actually can do a lot more, which also then fills your time. So it's kind of been twofold in that way.
Who are you? Who are you? That's incredible. Okay, so I mean, you'll get this down the road. Right now, you're in 62. When this becomes 90 and becomes 120, like you won't count minutes as much as you'll count days, as much as you'll count weeks, as much as you'll count months, and this will become a part of your life. And you'll look back, and you've done some pretty extraordinary things because you're moving your body and you're changing your thoughts, and you are getting a new connection to yourself. I mean, you're making all these shifts. Here's the big one. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Has your significant other stopped using?
You know what? He has.
What?
He's now 20 days sober.
Dude, peer pressure.
Yeah, I know.
Middle school style. Okay, so
no, I mean he made his decision all on his own.
No,
but I think me
listen,
constantly saying, I feel so good. And
listen, no guy makes their own decision. I'm just kidding. He may have, good for him, but there's 0% chance that's true. And if y'all both need to tell yourself that, that's fantastic. So he watched you just come out of a cocoon, and he said, "I want to be beautiful like that too." That's fantastic. Mm-hmm. Is he through hell yet? Is he on the other side of it?
He is, yeah, and it was about 2 weeks also.
That's pretty miserable. So he's about a week in where he can see and acknowledge color again.
Yeah. Both of us, we had some bad news and difficult news yesterday, and we got through it. It's amazing. It's really given us both of us, this tolerance for difficult things. And like I said before with the depression, it's like if I was always like, if there's a baseline of depression, I was always kind of skirting and jumping right on that line. Mm-hmm. But now I'm not even close to that line. Like I'm nowhere near feeling hopeless. I can't even tap into hopelessness right now. And that used to be kind of just like under the surface all the time. So I feel really liberated from that.
That's so incredible. Do you have a game plan for when that siren calls? Do you have a game plan?
Yeah, I'm going to remember that it will pass.
Awesome.
That it will pass, and that will be okay. Because I think it's when you are in a depression, you feel like that's your whole world.
That's the whole world. That's right.
And that becomes even heavier.
That's right.
But it's not. It will pass, and it always does pass.
Yeah. The lie of depression is it's always been like this. It always will be, and it was your fault, right? And one or two of those things may be true, but in totality, they end up dragging you underwater. Here's what I'd recommend. Kind of like we have a fire plan, right? Like in my house, I have a gas line that goes to an open flame, and I've got 2 kids, 12 and under. Like there's a really good chance something catches on fire in my home, right? We have a plan just for in case. And so I would think, and this would be a fun exercise for you and your counselor, to just say, let's write it down. Maybe it's on one piece of paper, and we store it somewhere where we know where it is. And this is Elizabeth's depression plan. If and when my baseline goes low, or my blood sugar falls off and I begin to feel like the old days, or fill in the blank, right? Mom gets sick, whatever the thing is, I've got that map to get out of the house when it's on fire already. I know where it is. And that way I'm not going to listen to my body's signals in those moments because I know they don't tell me the truth. I've already got a plan from when I was well, and I'm going to follow that plan. Even though I feel like X and Y, I'm going to follow that plan. I'm going to stay above that baseline. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're incredible. Can I ask you one more? This is a personal question, and I can edit it out if you don't want to answer it. 2 recovering addicts staring at each other. What's intimacy been like?
You know, you can leave this in the show. It's actually been much better.
Okay.
And I think I mentioned to you before, this all was triggered because we wanted to start to try to have children. And that's been a huge change for us. It's like our sex drive has improved. Our intimacy has improved. We actually want a baby even more because, at least for myself, I'll speak for myself, I feel more capable. I feel like I actually could handle having a kid.
Wow.
So it's been really great.
There's something about sex drive increases, and that's a common thing. People stop smoking weed all the time. There's something else about looking across a room at somebody unclothed and saying, "Do you see me?" And I'm gonna allow you to see me, right? You know what I'm saying? And so for you to say, no, that's improved. That's such an incredible moment for you and your like. I'll smile all day. I'll smile all day.
Well, and I'm really proud of him too. So I think that's sexy. You know, like I admire what he's doing, and
he's
I
like
think
doing a thing.
He's the same. Yeah.
Gosh, and you're gonna catch him lifting weights one day, and then, geez Louise, man, stay away from y'all's house. I'm so excited. I'm so proud of you. Like for real, I'm so proud of you. One last thing, will you keep this in your back pocket?
Yes.
I think I'm breaking some sort of rule or something by doing what I'm about to do, and forgive me if I am. Okay, is that cool? If one of you slips, one of you uses one day, I want you to be about your new identity, not about this magic number. Okay?
Okay.
I've had people who are recovering from addiction in my life who I love, that their life revolves around this magic number and less about the person who they're becoming. And there's days that especially in the old days when I was an idiot. I knew a couple of guys were going to ask me, hey, what'd you do for your wife this week? And I would do it the night before I hung out with those dudes, so I'd have something to tell them. And so there was something about practicing, like I'm doing things even when I don't think about it or when I don't feel like doing it. There's moments when that's good. And so there's going to be moments when like I'm at day 222, I'm having a bad day. I'm not going to do this so I can get to day 223. There's something there, but that number will never be your identity. Okay? You're bigger than that.
Yeah.
And that new sexy guy you found, he's bigger than that. And now y'all are on this new trajectory and this new path. And as two people who are going to honor and steward themselves and their marriage, dude, I'm just like, I'll smile all day because of this. I'll smile all day.
Well, I'm so happy.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. And is it all right if I like share one last thing if someone's on the fence?
You could share anything. Share all of it. Yeah. You've told us about your sex life, for God's sake. What else do you want to talk about?
Well, I'm married. I'm a married woman.
I'm totally kidding.
So I really would encourage someone to just try. And it's really intimidating, but if they're dealing with mood problems like depression, that this is just a gift you can give yourself to just try it. And the worst case is you get 30 days clean and then you can go back. But I cannot believe how much it's impacted my mood. And I've struggled with depression for decades. And so if I had known or believed that stopping weed would change and like liberate me from depression as it has, I would have done it decades sooner. So yeah, if anyone's listening, just give it a try. Just try it out. The worst that can happen is you go back after 30 days. The best is that you're free from depression.
And let's extrapolate that out. That's more than just weed. That's your pornography addiction. That's working 80 hours a week. That's people who cannot put their phones down. That's people who are struggling with disordered eating. Do something for 30 days. Just do something for 30 days, right? And did you find that number to be pretty magic? That's the number that's just constant in the ethos. Stop doing something for 30 days and then reevaluate, right?
It was magic, yeah. I would say after 14, that was a real turning point, and then after 30 was even more so.
Okay. Yeah, the 2 weeks of hell is pretty routine, and then the 2 weeks of who am I? What is happening? And then that back 2 weeks is often when people just don't think about it. They unconsciously grab a Twinkie because it's behavioral. You know, you go to do the dishes and you just go look for the bong, and all of a sudden you're like, oh no, right? So it's staying conscious in those 2 weeks as you begin to see color again. I'm just so proud of you, and thank you for your encouragement. Thank you for calling us back. Will you call me back at day 90 and day 120?
Oh, sure.
And if you ever have a new day 1, will you call me that day too?
Sure, I will.
I'm so proud of you, and I want you to send us pictures of that new little knuckleheaded baby that comes along, and just hashtag just saying, John is an excellent, excellent name. Hey, thank you so much, Elizabeth. We're so proud of you, and thank you for giving us a light to walk towards, all of us, me included.